In Lisa Parker's desk drawer lay an old photograph, one of the first female instructors to graduate from the Navy pilot training program. 10 years ago, after an accident, she had left everything behind and become a quiet cafe waitress. But that day, when a pilot in the air needed help, there was no escape for Lisa. Skyline Cafe was a small establishment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the runway, located right next to San Diego Airport. It opened its doors every morning at 5:30 a.m. and served pilots, aviation enthusiasts, and airport workers until late hours. Lisa Parker had been working there for 10 years, reliable, quiet, and the perfect waitress. Lisa was 42, of medium height with brown hair and green eyes. Customers always knew her as cheerful, kind, and hardworking. She never mixed up orders, remembered names, and memorized regular customers' coffee preferences. But no one noticed how carefully she watched the planes in the sky when sitting at the window-side tables. That morning, like every day, she had arrived at the cafe at 5:15 a.m. She started the coffee machines, cleaned the counters, and updated the menu board. Outside, it was still dark, but the airport lights illuminated the first planes on the runway. As Lisa arranged one of the tables near the window, she thought about the photograph hidden in the drawer. The photograph was from 2013. She stood with successful graduates of the Navy pilot training program in front of F-18 Hornets. Back then, she was Major Lisa Hunter and held the title of the Navy's youngest female flight instructor. The graduation certificate in her hand was a source of pride, showing the success of the pilots she had trained. But that photograph also represented the year when everything changed. The first customer arrived at 6:30 a.m. Tom Bradley, a former Air Force pilot. At 65, retired, but still passionately connected to aviation. Every morning he sat at the same table, watching runway traffic while drinking his black coffee. "Good morning, Tom," Lisa approached with a smile. "The usual?" "Good morning, Lisa. Yes, black coffee and whatever today's pastry is." Tom looked out the window. "Looks like it'll be busy today. Weather's nice, general aviation flights will increase." As Lisa brought the coffee, she listened to Tom's conversation. The way he used pilot terminology, his comments about weather, his knowledge about traffic control, these were music Lisa hadn't heard for a long time. But every time her old self tried to resurface, she stopped herself. At 8 a.m., the cafe began to fill up. Cargo pilots, private jet captains, students returning from training flights. They all came with different stories, but they all shared the sky. As Lisa listened to their conversations, she felt the longing she had suppressed inside. "Lisa," called Mike Chen, the cafe owner. "There's an order from Terminal 2. Can you take it?" Lisa nodded and prepared the order. Mike was a good boss. He didn't ask too many questions about Lisa's past and valued her reliability. When she started working 10 years ago, she had simply said, "I have aviation experience," and Mike found that sufficient. Walking to Terminal 2, she passed by the control tower. She was close enough to hear radio traffic, familiar voices, tower controllers, pilots, ground service coordinators. These voices took her back to the past. That cursed day in 2013, it was a training flight. One of Lisa's students, young and talented Lieutenant Sarah Collins, was doing her first solo aerobatic flight. Lisa was on ground control, monitoring via radio. Everything was going as planned, until Sarah's aircraft experienced hydraulic failure. Lisa could never forget that day. The moment Sarah panicked, the times her own voice tried to stay calm and clear on the radio, coordinating ground crews. But it hadn't been enough. When Sarah tried to make an emergency landing, the aircraft went out of control and crashed into the field next to the runway. They had lost Sarah. The official investigation cleared Lisa. Technical failure, unforeseeable situation, no fault of the instructor. But Lisa never forgave herself. If she had given better instructions, if she had been more experienced, if from that day on, she stopped flying. She resigned from the Navy. Without telling anyone the truth, she came to San Diego and started working at Skyline Cafe. Lisa Hunter died. Lisa Parker was born. Returning from Terminal 2, a voice from the radio caught her attention. Mayday, Mayday. This is Cessna 182, call sign November 347 Alpha. I have engine failure. Requesting emergency landing. Lisa froze. These types of emergency calls still frightened her. But another voice, the response from the control tower, worried her more. November 347 Alpha. Control here. You are cleared for emergency landing on runway 09. What is the status of your engine? Control, engine has completely stopped. I'm flying in glider mode, approximately 12 miles out, altitude 3,000 feet. Lisa quickened her pace. When she returned to the cafe, most customers were looking out the window. Distant ambulance and fire truck sirens could be heard. What's happening? Asked Mike. An aircraft has engine failure, Tom Bradley answered. They're going to make an emergency landing. Single-engine aircraft, coming in glider mode. Lisa listened to the radio traffic with her heart pounding fast. The pilot had a young voice tone, maybe late 20s. It was obvious from his voice that he was inexperienced, stressed, speaking quickly, prone to making mistakes. November 347 Alpha. Maintain your speed at 65 knots. Wind is 090 degrees at 12 knots. Control, 65 knots feels too fast. Stall alarm is sounding. Lisa's blood ran cold. The young pilot was flying near stall speed and was panicking. This situation was very similar to Sarah's situation before the crash. November 347 Alpha. Increase your speed to 70 knots. Avoid stall. Control, aircraft is not responding. I'm losing altitude. Lisa was now unstoppable. She walked toward the cafe's radio. Mike looked with surprised eyes. Lisa, what are you doing? Lisa tuned the radio to the airport control frequency. When she put her hand on the microphone, the voice she had suppressed for 10 years returned. Major Lisa Hunter's voice. November 347 Alpha. This is a former instructor speaking. Can you hear me? There was a brief silence on the radio. Then the young pilot's voice came. I hear you. Who is speaking? My name is Lisa Hunter, former Navy flight instructor. Right now, you need to stay calm. We've experienced many engine failures. You can get out of this situation. Everyone in the cafe had turned to Lisa. Mike's mouth was open. Tom Bradley's eyes were wide as saucers. Lisa, the pilot's voice was calmer now. How do I do it? I keep losing altitude. First, adjust the trim. Reduce nose weight. Let the aircraft find its natural glider position. Keep your speed steady at 75 knots. Adjusting trim. Yes, aircraft is stabilized. Excellent. Now calculate your approach route. What altitude are you at and how far from the runway? 2,200 feet, approximately 8 miles from runway. Lisa quickly calculated. Her old instructor reflexes had returned. Your altitude loss is about 500 feet per minute. You have 5 minutes. Make a direct approach to runway 09. Don't make wide turns. Understood, Lisa. Thank you so much. Everyone in the cafe was listening to the radio. Outside, ambulance and fire vehicles were waiting standby at the edge of the runway. Lisa held the microphone, monitoring the aircraft's progress. Lisa, I can see the runway, but I'm coming in too high. No problem. Put your flaps to full position. Reduce speed to 65 knots. Make S-turns to lose altitude. Flaps full. Speed decreasing. Making S-turns. Lisa could see the distant small dot from the window. The Cessna approaching in motorless glider mode. She also noticed someone sitting in the passenger seat. November 347 Alpha. Do you have a passenger? Yes, my fiancée is with me. Her first flight experience. Lisa's heart clenched. She suddenly remembered Sarah. But this time would be different. This time she would succeed. You're making an excellent approach. Now, final phase. When you see the runway threshold, slight nose up, soft contact. Don't rush. I see the runway threshold. Nose up. Landing! A small dust cloud appeared in the distance. Then a joyful voice came from the radio. Down, safely down. "Lisa, you saved our lives." Applause erupted in the cafe. Tom Bradley had stood up. Mike was looking at Lisa in amazement. Other customers were also beginning to understand what the radio conversation meant. Lisa put down the microphone, noticing her hands were shaking. After 10 years, she had talked to a pilot again and saved a life. This time, she hadn't lost. "Lisa," Tom Bradley approached, "who are you? Were you really a Navy flight instructor?" Lisa took a deep breath. There was nothing left to hide now. "Yes, Tom, I was Major Lisa Hunter, instructor in the Top Gun program, training F-18 pilots." Mike was still in shock. "We've worked together for 10 years, and you never mentioned this." "Because I left that life behind," Lisa quietly replied. "I lost a student. Never again." Tom put his hand on Lisa's shoulder. "But today, you saved someone. This doesn't change the past loss, but you did something good today." At that moment, the cafe door opened, and two men entered. One FAA inspector, the other airport security manager. "We're looking for Lisa Parker," the FAA inspector said. "That's me," Lisa stood up. "Is your name really Lisa Hunter, former Navy flight instructor?" "Yes." The inspector opened his notebook. "Your intervention today will be officially recorded. You saved 2 people's lives. Also, if you're interested, we can evaluate your application for civilian aviation instruction." Lisa looked out the window at the distant runway. There, the small Cessna that had landed safely was sitting. Ambulance and fire vehicles were beside it, but no emergency intervention was needed. The pilot and passenger were safe. For 10 years, she had held herself responsible for Sarah's death. But today she had saved another Sarah. Maybe it was time to forgive herself. "Inspector," Lisa spoke in a calm voice, "could I get more information about the civilian instruction application?" Tom Bradley smiled. Mike had emerged from his amazement, full of pride. Other customers in the cafe might not have understood what had happened, but one thing was certain. Ordinary waitress Lisa Parker was now in the past. In her place, pilot Lisa Hunter, ready to fly again, had returned. 3 months later, Lisa received her civilian aviation instruction certificate. She still worked at Skyline Cafe, but now only part-time. In her other time, she was training young pilots at the local flight school. She added a new photograph next to the old one in her desk drawer, a photo with her first civilian student, taken after a successful solo flight. Lisa was no longer running from her past. She had made peace with it, learned from her mistakes, and started flying again. "Another coffee, Lisa?" Tom Bradley asked. He now knew Lisa's true identity, and his respect for her had increased even more. "Sure, Tom, and I'll continue listening to pilot stories, because now I'm part of them again." If you enjoyed this inspiring story of hidden past and second chances, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and become part of our Hidden Truth Stories community. We share powerful stories, proving that ordinary people have extraordinary backgrounds. Where are you watching from today? Drop a comment below and let us know what city or country you're from. We love hearing from our amazing viewers around the world. Have you ever discovered that someone you knew had incredible hidden talents or background? Share your own stories of unexpected heroes in the comments below. Remember to like this video if it inspired you, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that everyone deserves a second chance. Until next time, don't let your past define you. Write your own future. The end.